The college football experience, California Golden Bears 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. They even got college football best ball. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. Like I said, they got college football. They got college basketball. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their football models are almost live. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Randy Cross. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. California Golden Bears 2024 season preview episode, and excited to talk Golden Bear football here. And it's a day of a new. They're getting a bunch of money from a former rival. And they're in a brand new conference in the All Coast Conference. It's an exciting time, I think, for Golden Bear fans. Excited to talk about this year's team, this year's roster, in a pivotal year for Justin Wilcox. I think this year's got to be a winning year for him to stay in Berkeley there. We're going to talk about all that. YouTube.com/the college experience as we continue to break down 134 college football teams, the entire FBS. We're giving the same amount of attention to Tulsa or San Diego State or whoever that we are giving California or Alabama or Michigan or whoever. So hop on over there, wherever podcasts can be found, or youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
I love me some good. Look, one of the best, most underrated stadiums in America, in my opinion, is Cal Memorial Stadium there in Berkeley. Look, John Madden used to coach football in a classroom. Teach football in a classroom. There was a class you could sign up to learn football with John Madden as your teacher. Nothing on the field. He was strictly in the classroom teaching the great sport of football. So, I got some love for the California Golden Bears. Marv Levy once coached here. Jeff Tedford, my guy Jeff Tedford, just had him on the show not that long ago. I want to wish him the best as well. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi, well,
let's get it going, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get it going, man. I remember a lot of damn good play. Marshawn Lynch, Aaron Rodgers, Hardy Nickerson, Ken Harvey. I mean, they got guys. Cam Jordan, right? I mean, you can go on and on and on.
Guys. Donnie McCleskey, Deshaun Jackson.
Wesley Walker. Remember the old New York Jet Wesley Walker? He was nasty. Yeah. You can go on and on and on about the great players coming out of Cal Berkeley.
No shortage.
Yes, no shortage. And you're wondering, I think a lot of alums wondering what the hell we're in the ACC, but I think there's a reason to be optimistic about everything, as I sound like Macho Man. Oh, I think there's a reason to be optimistic. Yeah, I mean, I really do. It doesn't make any sense here in the ACC, but college football, that makes no sense. USC's in the Big Ten. So whatever. Okay. Yeah. What do you make overall of the California Golden Bears being in the Atlantic Coast Conference?
Well, looking back at their history, they can't really do any more mediocre in the ACC than they have in their history. Basically, the Pac-12, whatever it was before then, the Western Conference, Pacific Coast Conference, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, since 1937, they only have 2 10-win seasons. They haven't won a Rose Bowl in like 100 years. So, it's been a long stretch for them, that they've gotten close a few times, had some good years, but never got over the top, and haven't won the Pac.
Tedford was both their 10-win seasons.
No, Tedford hit, they got 2 with Tedford, and then there's one other in with
Bruce Snyder before he went to Arizona State.
Yeah, and prior to that,
they had 2 in 48 and 49.
48 and 40. Why am I reading this wrong?
I don't know what the hell you're reading over there.
38, 37, 36. Old Stub Allison. I guess they've had a little more success than I was reading that wrong.
I feel like it's fair also to mention that there was a lot of 10-game seasons.
That's
true.
What
I mean? Like if you go back in the 60s, those are all 10-game seasons pending bowl game. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having a 10-1 season, which they did. 3 straight years they went to the Rose Bowl with old Pappy Waldorf at coach in 48,
love
49,
Pappy Waldorf.
Gotta love Pappy Waldorf. But it's been a long time since they've been really good. I mean, obviously Tedford had some very good years with them, a couple 10-win seasons, but you'd expect more from the state flagship of California.
I completely agree there. Now, where are you at with Justin Wilcox? Because here's one, if you want my honest opinion. I know he's highly regarded in the coaching world, right? You go back to his time as an assistant at Boise on those great Boise teams. Also, he was the DC of Wisconsin when they almost won the Big Ten championship. They got there and lost to Penn State by 3-7, something like that. He's well regarded as far Sarkisian had him hired at USC as a DC before he took the Cal job. And I kind of love I'm curious like what the people's opinion will be. Cause I obviously like and youtube.com/college experience, I have graphics. He's just 36 and 43 in 7 seasons, which would be not cutting it in my opinion. Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Not cutting it. But I do think it's important. He's only had 2 winning seasons there, but COVID hit Berkeley a little different than the rest of America. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he was really fighting. Like if you throw out what has happened since COVID, like year 1, he was 5-7, year 2, 7-6, year 3, 8-5, COVID happens and it's been a fucking war zone ever since. Now, last year he got him back to a bowl, but I feel like that was just defeating in a way. And that's why I'm glad they're patient with him. I think that they might have something really good coming. If sometimes
COVID probably wasn't a 1 or 2 year deal. It probably was a 3 and even 4. Dude,
they couldn't even fucking practice in that fucking county, man. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like looking at I understand that those count as losses, and then but I just feel like that was a really tough hand to be dealt for a football coach. Anywhere up there, really. You know what I mean? Like, same with
Berkeley.
With Stanford,
Berkeley is always the epicenter of, that kind of movement, a protest move. I don't know if you want to call that. That wasn't a protest. That was, taking precautions, but it's certainly going to, be on that side of the equation. And football is obviously going to be one of the later priorities when it comes to Cal.
We got Justin Wilcox on the line here, Coach. How was COVID when it first hit in 2020?
Well, I don't get break the head cold, but they're counting down 7-6-5.
When they told you couldn't practice anywhere within 50 states from California, what was your reaction?
The fuck is that?
No. It was a shitty hand to be dealt. Look, we joke, but I'm saying I feel like a lot of other universities did not have to deal with the hand he had to be held. He got dealt. Now that's always the risk when but I'm glad they're patient. My point. I think there could look. Wilcox coached under Tedford, coached under Peterson, coached under Hawkins. Like his track record of the teams he's been with, the coaches he's been with is really good. And I feel like maybe this is the year that they could turn a corner.
I mean, what do you think? Sonny Dykes, 1-11, 5-7, 8-5, 5-7. And so, from a win percentage standpoint, he probably was kind of similar to where Wilcox is. It may be a little lower than what Wilcox immediately improved the team 5-7, 7-6, 8-5. Well, I guess not immediately, but it took 3 years, and he had him up at a pretty good level. But I mean, since then it's been a recovery from COVID. Do we think that they're finally going to take the step forward? Obviously, the level of competition changes this year. I don't know if the level of competition, but the competition itself, the teams they're playing. And I think, honestly, to get back to your original question, this team probably stands to be at a bit of an advantage here when it comes to the travel. I know that doesn't make sense because half their games are at home and half are away, but I still think it's we've done the research on this, and teams going out west, whether it be from the ACC, who has done terribly against the Pac-12, or the SEC, anytime these teams have to travel all the way out west, they're just not used to it, and they get caught. They often lose.
But I do think we wonder about the other way around too, though.
Yeah, I wonder about that, and I wonder about that on a weekly basis, like how that's gonna, the mileage will add up, and the fatigue might set in from that. So you have to call it a push from. But again, a lot of people have said that the teams on the West Coast travel all the way, from the north to the south frequently, much more frequently than, like, say, Clemson might get up to Boston College.
Because they're just not as. You ever seen like the chart of how many schools are on the West Coast?
Yeah, it's not
like many. It's what I'm saying, like playing football and basketball. There's not that many. So like you then. Your travel is already, you're doing decent travel. Whereas like you said, if you're Duke and one of these teams we previewed in the ACC, they don't leave like the state of North Carolina or one of these states to like week 9. And you're just like, okay, that's not bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, Wilcox is 36-43 in 7 seasons there. Look, before we go further on this, I do want to mention that you're listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and Sports Gambling Podcast just launched their 32-team NFL team previews. And as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. Submit the 32 code word phrase, and you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. So hop on over there, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. Back talking Cal football here. The OC is Mike Blesh, and DC is Peter Sermon. I am very intrigued with Blesh because they had Jake Spavital, who now heads off to Baylor. Blesh is a Seth Luttrell guy. I thought Seth Luttrell got a raw deal at North Texas. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do there. And prior to that, he was with Philip Montgomery at Tulsa, who I also thought got a raw deal. Like I think, but like I trust those coaching, staffs. I thought, Tulsa was better than what, they should have. They played for a championship game, and had Cincinnati not ducked them during COVID, they might have been hosting the championship game there.
We're talking about which
Tulsa. You remember Tulsa? Philip Montgomery, who was
okay.
I think he's a good football coach. So
yeah,
and Luttrell, I think, got a kind of a raw deal at North Texas too. So
I mean, he was there for last year as the O-line coach and run game coordinator, and so I guess that's where it's a little confusing. Like I'd be lying if I told you I remember exactly what system Montgomery was running at Tulsa, but I know that Luttrell ended up, despite being a fullback, was a kind of an air raid guy, right?
No, but they were still like a run heavy air raid team.
Yeah,
like run heavy. I mean, what was it? Oscar Attaway, I think, was the running back in North Texas. They had another one, Torrey. Both those guys, like, it depends on the year. I feel like certain years where they would throw more, but they were certainly, I would say, one of the more run heavy.
I would agree with
air raid teams I've ever seen, if not the most.
Yeah.
But
last year, I mean, again, they were pretty run heavy. While he was the offensive line coach and run game coordinator, obviously stays as the offensive line coach, but takes over offensive coordinator duties. So I'm guessing we're going to see. Well, maybe that just had to do with personnel that he had at his disposal. So
yeah, hang on 1 second. Keep talking.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Colby's running off here. From a personnel standpoint, last year, who'd they have at the quarterback? It was. I know we're going to get to this momentarily. Fernandez, and he did not throw from, or no, Fernando Mendoza rather, only threw for 1,700 yards last year. As Jaydn Ott ran for 1,300 all by himself. So, I mean, they were definitely, I would say, one of the more run-heavy teams in the country. So I would anticipate that to kind of continue just because you have Ott. But we're going to talk about some of the transfers that might change that.
Yeah, we are going to talk about those, but I did want to key in on look, we talk about the worst loss for all these Power 5 teams. Patty C, what is the worst loss there? You look now, some of that was pre-Tedford at Cal, and then some of that, although I do think Tedford did get beat by Whittingham in Utah when they were in the Mountain West there. But yeah, I mean, I guess the BYU 44-16 stands out a little bit, but BYU's been a good team. Is there a blemish on there that you say, man, that's a bad loss? Because even that Colorado State team was good. That Nevada team was good. So it's like you can't really.
Better have been good though, because that was an ass kicking.
Which one?
52-31.
Yeah. Well, that was at Nevada though. You know what I mean? Like, but that's
more
still
acceptable.
Yeah. I think the BYU 44-16 in Berkeley at Cal Memorial might be the worst.
Could be. That is a shellacking.
Look, we're going to dive into the offense, defense, special teams, and go game by game on the schedule. But before we do that, I do want to tell you that the California Golden Bears season preview is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'em entries, and then you go streaking. Bring your green hat. Look, if you can get on an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. They just got college football best ball. I had never heard of that. I've been waiting for that. Thank God. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. So what are you doing, folks? Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Odds Jam. Yes, Odds Jam is your one-stop shop for beating the sports books. Odds Jam uses millions of data points across every U.S. and Canadian sports book to show you have the best value plays for your money. And look, their line shopping tool shows some of the best prices for any bet you can make across countless sports books, not just DK or FanDuel or whatever, but also Bet Online, Bovada, Cut, and much, much more. And their arbitrage tool will find opportunities where you can bet both sides of the same prop on different sports book to guarantee a positive ROI. So get on over there, check that out. They got new fantasy tool features, the highest EV plays related to sportsbook odds, allowing you to crush sites like Underdog Fantasy. So look, if you're interested in trying Odds Jam, you can try your free 7-day trial period today. So hop on over there. Don't forget to enter the promo code SGP, but the link is going to be below this website, or I'm sorry, below this below this episode. So 35% off your first month of your subscription, oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN. And if you're looking for it, if you're listening to this on iTunes, it's just going to be, just scroll down. It'll be right there for you. Folks, we're back talking Cal Golden Bear football. Patty C, the offense last season, 47th in scoring per game, 30.2 points per game. I converted these to ACC numbers. Their offense would have been 6th best in the ACC a season ago, 8th best in yards, 71st in passing. They were 61st nationally in yards, 45th in rushing. All of these things would have been top 8 in the ACC. So not at the top, but I would also argue they played 9 conference games. The ACC, you only have 8. So in a way, I feel like these numbers might be a little bit skewed where they could be top 4, top 5. Well, because they played more Power 5s.
That's true. That probably skews them to be a little less impressive than they should be. But the flip side of that is they were playing against Pac-12 defenses, which probably skews them to the
True.
in
Very
their
true.
favor. Yeah.
True, but if we're going to use that coin, then on the defensive side of the ball, the
True.
Pac-12 had the best quarterbacks. I don't even think anybody was close last year. Like there was not. I mean, they had 3 top 10 picks: Shador Sanders, who's going to be a top 10 pick, and Cam Ward, who is the highest priced free agent transfer this offseason. So,
I'll say this though: ACC typically has good quarterback play, so their defense is probably well prepared for that based on last year.
There we go. The offense, though, returned 7 starters. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who you just mentioned, is back, although not penciled in to be a starter right now. From what I'm seeing and what I'm told, running back Jaydn Ott is perhaps the best running back in America. I know he was just voted like first team or
skipped out on him for fantasy last year like an idiot and paid the price.
Yeah. I mean, he's
like 3 picks in a row. It's like, idiot. Don't do that. If you want points, go get yourself Jaydn Ott.
Yeah, Trond Grizzell is a guy that flourished last season as well. They're excited to have him back at the wideout spot. Jack Endries at the tight end spot, even though I'm not sure he's going to start either. They have 2 good tight ends now. But he was the starter last season. They got 3 of 5 back on the offensive line, led by right tackle TJ Session and center Matthew Wyckoff. Yeah, I mean,
it's
nice to have 7 starters back, even though 5 of them you might only have 5 starting. So some depth, that might be key.
Yeah, the worst that means is you're adding depth with your old starters sitting on the bench.
How do you feel about the retro logo here?
Pretty amazing.
You think they should go back to that one?
I'm very happy. I see a lot of people, arguing that they should go back to the golden helmet with the little football with the C inside of it. Pretty simple, but what about fire helmet?
Well, people don't know this. Part of my love for Cal football, I know people find it weird, but I think they have one of the best stadiums in all of college football. Mm-hmm. I think they could host. If I were in charge of college football, they would be hosting like a playoff game or national championship there because it's close to a major city and it's just an amazing stadium.
Gorging surroundings. Robert Martin in the chat mentioned Tightwad Hill.
Yes,
you got the trees up there. People dropping acid. It's just a beautiful scene.
Well, then you have the John Madden thing, who taught football at the university, and then you have, in my opinion, the greatest play in the history of college football and the history of football in general. To me, like the perfect metaphor. If I was to go to Mars and explain to Martians what is football, how would I describe football? I would show them this play from Kevin Moan. Shout out to this. And look at this right here. Back to our uniform conversation, which look at this bobblehead with the,
that is amazing,
with the horn. But you see that helmet with the old bear claw there?
Oh, that's sick.
They got to go there. I'm thinking they should go back to that.
Little Clemson flavor, but harder.
This play, and shout out for them for doing a bobblehead on this. And they have a statue now with Kevin Moan. That I think opened up either a year ago or the year prior. Beautiful. Is the greatest play in the history of college football. I'll fight anybody on that.
It's funny though. That play would probably tell Martians that football is closer to rugby, because that play was basically a big rugby play.
That's a good point,
but it was still amazing.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that play, folks, Stanford Cal 82, Google that. Buddy, I'm kind of high on the offense. They did lose Jeremiah Hunter. I would say that's the one that stands out. If you look at what they lost to the port, he's a stud. And it makes sense. Washington went and grabbed him, and I think he's going to be a stud at Washington. But the rest, Sam Jackson was a converted quarterback. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. All right, and so he was originally a TCU transfer that came in that was trying to play quarterback. I don't really worry about that one, even though Auburn. We'll see what he does at Auburn. I'll put it like that. Marquise Montgomery to BYU. Alferi to Oregon State. I really feel like Hunter's the only one with substantial impact on this offense.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Jackson was pretty much the backup. I mean, he and Finley got almost identical reps in terms of attempts. Jackson 97, Finley 94. Jackson threw for 556. Finley threw for 572. So they kind of lost their second stringer, kind of lost their third stringer there. So I agree that, especially with transfer quarterback coming in, which we're going to talk about, then I don't think that's a huge loss. And I agree that I think Hunter is the only one with significant 63 catches, 731 yards. It hurts, but again,
he was good. He was good too.
They're bringing in talent.
Yeah. No, I'm actually really excited about this offense. Look, they bring in Chandler Rogers, who threw I think 29 touchdowns and 5 interceptions a year ago at North Texas. Now, sure, it's a bump up in play, fair, but I think he's a talented quarterback. And then they also brought in CJ Harris, who's listed as their third stringer, but he started a few games there. I'd say 6-7 games at Ohio once Rourke went down. Look, am I crazy to think this? And I have no proof of this. I know UCLA has to pay Cal $10 million a year or something like that, right? But is Cal focusing? Like, they remind me of Duke. Duke all of a sudden is trying in football. When I look at Cal and I see some of these transfers, I go, whoa. Like Kadarius Callaway was a baller at Old Dominion last year. Jerry Johnson coming in from A&M at the running back spot. Mikey Matthews, a wide receiver from Utah. Tobias Merriweather at Notre Dame, I thought flashed. I was a guest on an Ohio State podcast, and Keon Gray's here. They were like raving about him, saying like he's going to be a stud at Cal.
Yeah. Well, again, if you're a Ohio State wide receiver, just getting into that wide receiver room at all means you're probably super talented. The fact that he only had one catch last year doesn't really mean much. But like you said, Mikey Matthews had 29 catches last year.
And they couldn't even throw the ball at Utah because they had the fourth stringer. Yeah.
Merriweather, almost 300 receiving yards. And did you mention Dykes yet?
Not yet. No. First off, Jonathan Brady from New Mexico State too, that was a very good program last year. Corey Dyches from Maryland, who was previously at Alabama. That was a very good get, dude. When I I don't want to get ahead of myself because we've never seen like adding all these players, but I can tell you this, based on what they brought in, it makes me think they're taking football way more seriously. And I can tell you this, when I think of the offense, you have 3 quarterbacks now that have started a lot of different games. You know what I mean? So not that I like, to me, if CJ Harris is in the game, Cal won't win a lot of games because he's still young, but I think he's a talented quarterback, and he started. You have not many teams have 3 quarterbacks that have started more than 5 games or something. So,
I mean, how many? Mendoza played in 9 last year, presumably started all of them. And then whether it be
Rogers Rogers. I think Rogers is going to start. Rogers, I think, is a stud, but we'll see if he can adjust to this level. But then to have Harris
has over 700 attempts, in his career. That guy's got tons of experience. So I think between those 3, that's a lot more experience than most teams have starting. And then the running back room, dude, like Kadarius Callaway coming in. Do you remember that game against Marshall where he averaged like 75 yards a rush? Yeah. Like unbelievable.
I'm being sarcastic, but I remember we should pull that up if you can. Can you Google that game, Old Dominion Marshall last year? But Jaydn Ott being one of the best running backs in the nation. Then they still have Byron Cardwell, who transferred from Oregon last year, who got injured. You bring in Jerry Johnson from A&M, and then you have Kadarius Callaway coming in. I'm like, dude, the running back room is good. Yeah, I think it's the best that running back room's been in like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, Ott again, a threat, running the ball super fast, and great out of the backfield as well. Great pass catcher. Against Marshall, 11 rushes, 236 yards, so 21.5 yards per rush. That's getting it done.
Get this motherfucker the ball. All right. Yeah. I know you have Ott, but dude, and then I know they lost what's his name to the wideout to Washington, but I like the wideout room too with Grizzell back. If my good people there at Buckeyes Wire, and what's the name of there? The Ohio State pod. The Ohio State of Mind podcast. If they're right about Graves being a stud, you have. I thought Merriweather was solid at Notre Dame. We'll see what Mikey Matthews can be, but it's like the receivers are good. The tight ends, you have your starter from a year ago, who's going to be a backup to Dyches.
Yeah,
dude.
Andrews, 35 catches, 400 yards. Yeah, between
they're carrying football again.
Huh?
It seems like Cal cares about football again. Like
Well,
I look at this offense and I think it's good.
Neil Barterson in the chat makes an important point here. Cal's astronomical debt is holding the program back. Maybe now that they're getting that $10 million
checks.
Yeah, maybe that 10 mil, like you're right, is going straight into the football fund, and they're getting themselves some talent in the door.
I don't know. I'm very, like I said, there's a lot of what ifs because we haven't seen Rogers play at this level. We haven't seen them in the fucking ACC traveling so much, and we haven't seen this offensive coordinator call plays for a while. But I'm intrigued by the roster and the staff in a way, and I'm excited to talk the defense here. But first, I want to tell you, the Cal Golden Bears preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, well, you are missing out. They predicted a bunch of winners for the British Open, and their football models are about to drop. You can even customize your own betting models easily using Rhythm's tools. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, I was just out at the Circa in Vegas. Made the drive out there from LA, last week? 10 days ago, something like that. Circa Sports. First off, the Circa is incredible. If you haven't been, you got to go. If you like sports, it's perfect. All right. But Circa Sports is incredible too, because they're back with their Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in prizes. Imagine the regret you're going to feel if you enter your little office pool with like 700 people in it, depending on your job, whatever, and you win the Survivor. You're going to say, damn it, because those picks would be good anywhere. Survive. It's not like you're working against the spread here. Like those picks would be good anywhere.
Play the big leagues if you're going to play.
Yeah. You're going to be sitting there saying, damn it, I could have been a millionaire. Why didn't I enter the Circa Survivor? So you want to definitely do that, folks. If you don't have a trip booked yet for Vegas before football season, may I recommend the Ultimate Contest Weekend? It's a great time to go out. And if you go, you can hang out with my pals, Stacking the Money Green and Ride Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. Oh, wait, maybe you're pressed for cash. Maybe you want to save some few bucks. We got a deal for you. Use the promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room that weekend. So do that. Also, you want to sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th to enter. And you can use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. All right, we are back talking Cal football. Shout out to Robert Martin in the chat. Buddy, like I said, I know it's a lot of moving pieces here, but when I pulled up, doing my prep a couple days ago for Cal, and I'm like, holy shit, they had one of the sneakier, like better transfer classes. Like normally they don't do that, in my opinion. That's why I was like, wow, do I need to buy some stock in Cal? Defensively, I adjusted these numbers for the ACC. Now, obviously they were not the greatest defensively last season, 111th in scoring per game, 102nd in yards, 128th in pass defense. That's a bottom six pass defense there. There were six worst. 35th against the run though. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if that's because every fucking team they played with was fire at quarterback, with the exception of the pig farmer for Utah. But like,
it is weird that since they see it week in, week out, they don't get better at defending it. But
I feel like they were better years before, but it's just last year was just a tough year. They weren't returning much. But still, they definitely played some elite quarterbacks last season, including they got all three of the top 10 picks on the schedule last year. And that's not even including Cam Ward, Texas Tech, whoever they put at quarterback, because they're always fire. And some of the other guys on the schedule there.
Who's running the UCLA quarterback?
DJU also played him. DJU, Dante Moore. Like I said, they played really good quarterbacks the season ago. Chandler Rogers. They played Chandler Rogers at North Texas, the guy who transferred there. That's how they got the intel on him. But the defense got to get better at those things. Now, like I said, I adjusted the numbers for the ACC. They would have been dead last in pass defense in the ACC a season ago. They also would have been 13th in the other two statistics. But is this one of these things like when we previewed USC? Go listen to the USC preview, where we expect USC's defensive numbers to jump up because they're playing the Big Ten West, or some of those shitty Big Ten offenses.
That is the case for, certainly any team going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. Specifically, the ACC, I would think they have slightly more dynamic offenses, but
they are more dynamic than the Big Ten. But I'm just saying, like when I think of, Boston College and Syracuse and Virginia and
that's why I mean not much. There's plenty of clunkers.
There's some duds still in the ACC, but I don't know. I wonder how these numbers will look a season from now. The good news is they bring back 8 starters on that defense. 8.
Nice.
I mean, the problem is, can they improve? But that's Wilcox's forte. You know what I mean? Like he's a defensive guy.
Well, for someone whose forte is defense, they didn't look too great. So,
but that's why I wonder, though, man. Like you go pull the numbers at Boise, you go pull the numbers at Wisconsin. They were fire. You pull them at Cal. You're just like, okay, is the quarterback play that much better in that conference that really just shits on what you can coach?
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and there's also their own quarterback play. If your offense isn't, moving the ball, and they had a decent run game, like we said last year, but offensively, what do we say? Passing, they were down in the 70s, and that's against Pac-12 defenses. So I don't think they're like when you're in a position where you're playing from behind a lot, then other teams can kind of tee off on you. They can they can run the ball, they can set up the pass as they wish, so it puts your defensive even a worse spot when your offense isn't up to snuff. So I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by seeing not just Cal, but like all of these teams in the Big 10, Big 12, all of them switching over. I want to see these stats and how they compare to the year prior within the conferences they were in. Yeah. 8 starters back, dude. I'm sitting here going through this and I'm like, okay, but don't overreact, Cole, because the defense wasn't good last year. But I'm like, they're not going to play 3 top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 draft picks. They're not going to play that this year. Right. So I'm like, they're gotta be better, right? They gotta be better than that. Right.
I mean, there is so much production. So much of the team's production is coming back.
Also, their punter is back. Don't forget about that. But in the portal, they lost a couple guys here. Now the big one that stands out to me is the linebacker going to TCU, Alarms Orr.
He was their leading tackler. That hurts.
That's the one where I'm like, okay. But the others one, Jernigan, sure, maybe a little bit more to UCLA, I guess. But
Jernigan, 20 tackles, more 24 tackles. They're number 13 and 16 on the team.
Like I said, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the offense in a way where it's like one gigantic piece is moved. The offensive portal. They did lose their kicker to UCLA, which could matter. But they
lost Morris, their second leading tackler to the draft, obviously.
Yeah.
And Sermon, coach's son. Yeah. Graduation. But other than that, 8 of the top 11 tacklers return. So that's pretty good production right there.
Well, and once again, to point out that I think they're taking football a lot more seriously. On the defensive side of the ball, Patty, they bring in guys from Oklahoma, LSU, Notre Dame, Missouri, and Wisconsin. That did not. I don't feel like that happened last year. I honestly don't feel like that was happening before. So I'm like, now who knows? Maybe nothing works out here, But they bring in on the defensive line TJ Bowlers from Wisconsin, Sirigne Tunkara from Missouri, Cheek Salu Fall from Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels. Check out the FCS college football experience for more on that. Aiden Kinana from Notre Dame, but Notre Dame normally has studs on the defensive line, dude.
Yeah,
like that one.
Great job recruiting.
And then linebacking Corey, bring in Buchanan. Yeah, you bring in Buchanan from Davis and Liam Johnson from Princeton. I don't know about them, but like Wagner from Oklahoma in the secondary, Marcus Harris from Idaho. They were a really, really good team in the FCS a year ago. And Yates from LSU, and you bring in a kicker Co from North Carolina. What am I missing where I feel like the team is pretty fucking loaded from like I don't want to say like
nice infusion of blue blood talent.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like they did a great job in the portal, way better than I thought before doing this exercise. This is why I love doing our team previews every year. Is like you sit there and you're like, damn, are they going to be really good?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cal's one of those teams that like, honestly haven't given much thought to, just thought they're going to go over to the ACC, probably produce pretty mediocre results there, maybe do a little better than they have been over the past. I was thinking like 7-5, but looking at this and then kind of peeking at their schedule earlier, there is potential if things break right for a really impressive season.
I just feel like where Stanford, they're kind of rebuilding still. I'm like, and I know it's a big year on Wilcox, but what's the weakness of this team now defensively? But I almost feel like it's impossible for them to have the quarterback play that the Pac-12 had a season ago. So I expect the numbers to be way, way, way better, like almost like 40, 50 spots better, I think.
Yeah. I mean, looking at their sack leaders, it looks like their top 7 sackers are all back. I mean, starting with David Reese with 6.5 sacks, and then Xavier Carlton with 4.5.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I'm sorry.
Lots of pressure coming back on that defense.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm pretty sold on the team, like more than I thought I would be. The win total is at 6 now, and this thing, and to win the ACC championship plus 9,000. I'm just gonna say this. To make the playoff is plus 7,500. If you win the ACC championship, you're in. So why not play the 9,000? Right? They haven't adjusted these things, but like if you're a Cal fan, I know that sounds ridiculous because you've never played for a conference championship in the Pac-12, but let me get you familiar with the ACC. They have a different team make okay, Clemson and Florida State normally win it every year.
Yeah.
But they're always playing a random fucking team. I can remember UVA. I can remember Miami. I remember last season Louisville. I took a future on Louisville and they got there. I remember Wake Forest. Wake Forest. I remember actually winning a fucking ACC championship, right? Boston College won one too, right?
I don't know that Boston College ever won one. They got to a bunch.
With Matt Ryan, didn't they win one?
I think they lost to Tech every time. Yeah.
Okay. But my point is, Virginia Tech's been in there. Duke's been in there. Like North Carolina's been in there.
If the ACC Coastal still existed and Cal
won one. Pitt won one 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we don't expect Clemson to necessarily be as great as they were. And so Florida State is the only one that is, a prohibitive favorite to be in the ACC championship in the preseason. Everyone else, it's open season. And so it's kind of, if your schedule breaks right and you're a hair above the other teams, things might break in your favor and you might find yourself in that game.
Oh man, can you imagine that? So the win total is sitting at 6 wins. The under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. So Vegas leaning to slightly into a 7-5 season. Patty
I think that ACC championship plus 9,000 is actually fantastic value.
I think it's fantastic too. Yeah. Like, what I know we haven't seen. My only flaw with this would be the travel, but also the fact we haven't seen them play together as one, because it seems like it's a brand new team in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
you have a lot of returning starters, but you're bringing in like a brand new quarterback, a couple of new wideouts, a new offensive coordinator. So I feel like that's the unknown, and obviously this radical travel that they're going to have. But, buddy, when I look at the schedule, YouTube.com/the college
works in their favor. Yeah.
Well, dude, like when I look at the schedule, okay, Auburn's a non-con game, so who gives a shit about the Auburn game, right? They play at Auburn. We're going to go game by game in a second. But if you're looking at this on YouTube, you'll see I'm not going to call for them to go 10-2, Patty C.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, besides Auburn and Florida State, can you 100% convince me that there's a automatic loss on there?
No, in fact, I favor them in all 10 of those other games.
Dude, I don't think people realize this, and maybe it's just I always feel like the Pac-12 gets in the Mountain West, just the West Coast in general, just kind of gets disrespected at times. Last season, their losses were to so they had 7 losses last year. They made a bowl and lost in the bowl game to Texas Tech, but all of those teams were good teams.
Well, here's the flip side of that. Here's the flip side of that. Their wins weren't always that impressive against not
shitty competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
fair. Maybe we are overhyping them a little bit here.
Well, but dude, this is still they had a 1-point loss to USC. They kept it, respectable in a lot of these matchups. The only
Idaho, I guess, is decent for for an FCS.
They are. They're good enough to be in the Mountain West. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. Because I look at this schedule now. Who knows about the travel? But I'm like, okay. Where do you see like? They're better than Wake Forest. They're better than Stanford. We know that, right? Syracuse, Wake Forest, Oregon State's in rebuild, right? NC State has to go to Berkeley. Now you could say, well, NC State's roster might be better, but they still have to go to Berkeley. I favor Cal in that game. Miami, do you feel great? I mean, how about this? When Wilcox played Cristobal, I think you went 1-2 against him, right? Yeah. They still beat them one time, but one of the ones I remember was I think it was like a 14-7 loss, right? Yeah. Where Cal's starting quarterback got injured. They were up 7-3 going in the fourth, or maybe it was a 10-7 loss, right? In Eugene. So like I give Wilcox like a strong edge as far as a coaching standpoint in that game when Miami comes to town on October 5th.
And let's be honest, Oregon, even under Cristobal, was in a better space than where Miami is now. And that's a huge long trip. And Cal's coming off a bye, and Miami has a big game the week before hosting Virginia Tech, and so there's a letdown spot there, whereas Cal's well rested and ready for Miami. I think it's a almost trap game kind of potential for Miami. This is the one you can see like a mile away coming, where I think Cal's going to win it.
Yeah, dude. And like, okay, you got Auburn and Florida State. Those games are tough road environments. But they remaining
beaten Auburn last year.
I know they were better than Auburn. They let them off the hook. You want to crown them.
That was when Jaydn Ott jumped up in the air and for no reason
knocked himself out of the game.
Fumbled and cost him the game.
Dude, look at these other road spots though. Throw out the Auburn and Florida State, because like I said, they could lose those. That's house money right there, right? They're playing with house money in those. At Pitt, no one is going to be at that game. Because no one goes to Pitt games anyway. You think they're going to be intrigued by Cal coming to fucking Heinz Field? No one's going to be at that game. Wake Forest. Oh, guess what they suffer from? No fans go to their fucking games, right? SMU. Now, maybe some of this $160 million ignites the fans, but I can tell you last year they had some empty ass crowds.
Dude, I'm telling you this though. If Cal is sitting there at 9-2 in this last game with only
they're going to lose at SMU.
No, I think they would. They have to get up for that, right? There's no way they could just like shit the bed on the last game of the season.
True.
I mean, I guess it's possible, but
I mean, dude. Okay, week 1, folks. In case you're listening, so they get UC Davis, who's breaking in a brand new head coach. Dan Hawkins retired, right? Week 2, they're at Auburn. And by the way, like I get it. Jordan Hare is an awesome environment. It's everything that's great about college football. But I don't think Auburn's roster is that much better than Cal's.
And Auburn just hasn't been dynamic lately. I mean, I know it's year 2 for Hugh Freeze, so we should expect a major step forward. And so, I think I think
is he allowed to have a phone now?
Right.
Part of his contract was like you couldn't have a phone.
A campus phone. Yeah. Make your calls off campus, buddy.
Only in the SEC would they put that. Anyway, week 3 they get Sean Lewis at San Diego State, who I do think is going to make them good. But once again, another new coach, right?
I think Cal gets them.
Yeah, I think they'll be 2-1, but it wouldn't shock me if they beat Auburn. Then at Florida State, they'll lose this game. But like, do we really think Florida State's that much better than Cal?
I don't think they're that much better than Cal. I think it is a long trip for Cal. But you mentioned it's kind of a decent spot for.
It's a little bit of a sleepy spot, I thought, because they get Memphis the week before, which Silverfish worked under Norvell. They run the same shit, so
they're probably going to have his attention. Plus, it's Memphis is Super Bowl, It's really the game that could put Memphis into the playoff if they win as the Group of 5 representative. So Memphis is going to be coming hard at Florida State. Florida State needs to be ready for that.
And then they have after Cal, they're at SMU and home to Clemson. So it's just a kind of a sleepy spot.
Yeah.
I'm sure Florida State will win the game. I'm just saying, like, you look back and you're like, I was doing a deep dive on Florida State today. It's like 2-point win against BC. It's like, well, shit, Cal's better than BC. You know what I mean? Like, they get a bye week on the 28th of September. They're home to Miami. Patty C alluded to this. I have Cal winning this too. Like, I don't think Miami has done nothing to prove to us that they can go on the road and beat a bowl team.
Yeah.
Like, they're talented enough to do it, but like under Mario Cristobal, I'm not just going to take them going cross country, taking on a bowl team. In my opinion, Cal's a bowl team. Give me Cal to get that win there. So I got them at I got them 3-2. They're at Pitt. Now this one is tricky to me because even though I know no one's going to be there, Pitt likes to bruise, man. Pitt's a strange team in the ACC to me. Like I was doing a deep dive. We're about to do the Clemson preview after this. Clemson struggles with Pitt, man. Pitt's they're like different than all the other ACC teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this too. Like you said, the environment can be tricky. Although getting them in, the first half of October on the road is a lot better than getting them in November. But especially if they beat Miami, Cal, the chance for a letdown going to Pitt is there. So it's probably likely that they go 1-1 in that 2-game stretch.
I, for some reason, give me Pitt to beat them.
Yeah,
give me Pitt to beat them. Then they come home and take on NC State. I have them beating NC State here.
This is a really good game. I mean, NC State is the better team.
If it was at Carter Finley, I would take NC State.
Yeah. Yeah, I will too, but then I think this puts another game on 50-50 notice probably later in the season. But yeah, I'll give them a win against NC State. And that's why I do think like the travel favors them. It's like you lose at Florida State, it doesn't really matter because Florida State's probably going to be the team that's going to make the ACC championship in the end anyway. So you're not really competing for that spot with them.
Yeah, tiebreaker has no. And
Florida or Miami and NC State.
Yeah, you're 100% would be battling for that spot. So you would have the tiebreaker on them. Then you get a random non-con game against an old foe, an old Pac-10 foe, Oregon State. I mean, I think they're way better than Oregon State right now with how many moving pieces that Oregon State has.
Yeah. What was the score on that? 52-40 last year in Oregon State's favor. Yeah. That game was played where? That was in Cal. So this year,
though, we just previewed Oregon State. They bring back like 2 players, dude.
Yeah. No, we favored.
I like Oregon State, and look, I would even like if Oregon State won that game because I'm rooting for Oregon State. But like,
well, this one is in Cal too, so they got them at home twice in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say Cal as well.
So do we both have them at 5-3 going into the second bye week?
Yeah.
They're at Wake Forest. I have them winning this.
I do.
Now they could lose this, but like I like they get a week to prep for that slow mesh. I think they're more athletic than Wake Forest. Like I'm taking them to win.
We'll see if Wake Forest rebounds. We mentioned, and everyone knows it, that they've been hit and their years of development. They haven't stood up well to the transfer portal. It's just like, okay, you can lose one guy and you have the next guy up. But when you're losing so much of your roster now that Wake is, you can't really just rely on development because no one sticks around anymore. So I think Wake has to prove that they are able to do that, and then maybe we should consider them a threat. But right now, Cal is definitely the favorite in this game, right?
Yeah, and that puts us at 6, which is their win total. We have them at 6-3 right now.
Yeah,
and they have 3 games left, and 2 of the 3 are at home, and the other one's at a team that was in the group of 5 last year. Home to Syracuse, home to Stanford. Cal should be favored in both of these games.
I agree. We're going to see what Syracuse has up their sleeve. That's a big question mark, but
if it was at the Carrier Dome, then I would be like, okay, Cal would lose that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Syracuse won in Memorial, but I'm just saying you got to favor Cal coming into that game.
Yeah.
And that puts them, if they win those 2, they're at 8. They're at 8 wins, Patty. See, 8-3 with the road trip to Gerald Ford Stadium. And I think if they win that, they'll be in the ACC championship.
I agree. I think so too. I mean, I don't know who else could even jump them. Who are the other teams?
Well, no, look, if they have a third loss, let's say SMU beats them, right?
Yeah.
Then I think Cal could still get in because the tiebreakers over NC State and Miami, like Miami plays NC State, like they have nice schedules, like more so NC State than Miami, but they play Florida State. So
they're taking at least one. And if if Cal gives them the second loss, then they have the tiebreaker. You're right.
Well, not only that, like I almost expect 3 losses for the second team in the ACC. Like I was maybe Louisville only has 2, maybe NC State only has 2, maybe Virginia Tech only has 2. There's a chance of it, but Cal could be playing in Dallas, Texas. And if they win that, I don't see how they're not in because we're just assuming they lose at Pitt. They could win that fucking game, dude.
Yeah. I mean, 11-1 is the real ceiling for this team, but that's outrageous based on what they were last year.
Historically, yeah.
I think realistically, I'm going to give them a loss in that SMU game just because we gave them a win
against Wake.
State,
NC State. NC State, you're right.
So I think it's 8-4 for me, which is still on the over, significantly.
Well, no, not only that, like one of those losses is Auburn. So like you still might have them in the ACC championship, but based on they haven't released these tiebreakers.
Yeah.
I can tell you this though, if Miami and NC State live up to the hype, the fact they play Florida State, Miami, and NC State, their strength of conference record, if they go conference record, will be better than Virginia Tech's.
Yeah, if they both finish 9
like with 2 losses, because they don't have a head-to-head. They don't have a head-to-head, or even 3. Even if they have, like Virginia Tech plays Miami, that could be 1. And how many losses did Louisville have last year? Was it just 1 in the ACC?
In conference, I'm not even sure. I think it was 2. Could be it was Kentucky and who else did they lose to?
Pitt got him. Did anyone else get him?
I don't think so. I think they were.
So you think? Because man, I don't know, man. I think it's definitely worth that sprinkle of plus 9,000 to win the ACC championship because you could always hedge if you wanted to win the championship game. But in general, what if they don't play Florida State? What if Florida State loses to Miami? You know what I mean? What if they're playing Miami in the fucking ACC championship? You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I would say there's a little bit of high vulnerability or not vulnerability, variability to this Cal team. They could be a clunker just because.
What's the floor? What's the floor here?
All right,
6-6 or something.
Maybe 5-7. Like Auburn a loss. You could say Can San Diego State be a loss?
I don't think in week 3. If this was later in the year, I would say yes. If this was November, I would say yes.
Okay, Florida State could be a loss. Miami could be a loss. Pitt could be a loss. NC State could be a loss.
Yeah, true.
Even Oregon State could be a loss. And then I don't see them going worse than 2-2 in that last stretch. But that would put them at like what 1, 2,
5
3,
and 7,
4, 5, 6, 4 and 8.
See, I don't think Oregon State could beat them but I think they lost too much. I think 5 and 7 is the floor.
I think you're probably right. So the number was 6, but juice to the what? Juice to the over.
The tiniest bit at minus 105. You know what I mean? Like, actually minus 115 to the under. So actually, I stand corrected. I misspoke when I so Vegas leaning to a 5-7 season, slightly more than a 6-6 season.
Lock.
Dude, this is hitting.
Yeah.
Why do they give Miami so much credit every year? I was thinking about that. I locked up Miami over last year because they finally sold me on that shit. That was one of my best unders every year. And last year I took the over. I thought the schedule was so nice. And I ate shit. I'm not jumping on it now, man. I'm not jumping on it now. I think this is hitting. Give me the over on the Cal Golden Bears. I think sprinkle that plus 9,000 to win the ACC championship.
This will be on my lock episode.
How hilarious would it be? They don't play Virginia Tech, dude. What if they're playing Virginia Tech in the ACC championship? This is the problem with these gigantic conferences. Like Florida State plays Clemson and Miami, so they could lose one of those, and then all they got to do is get upset somewhere else. Like if Cal somehow upsets Florida State, they would have the tiebreaker. All it takes is one wacky loss, where then you would say
schedule breaks your way. And
well, just with these gigantic conferences, these tiebreakers might break your way. I don't even think I honestly think the people that work with these conferences, like the reason why they haven't released them, because it's not just ACC, it's Big 12, it's Big 10, it's SEC, and you're just sitting there like, I think they're sitting there like
it makes like the tiebreaker situation,
which
really
is an auto bid though. That's an auto bid on the line now. Where I didn't think I don't think they thought this through. I think the playoff model was based off of 5 conferences with 12 to 14 teams. Yeah. So just like anything else in college athletics, it's very sloppily done. So now you're in this spot where you could potentially be robbing, a team like that, unless you just go top ranked. But I almost think people might vote against that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it depends on it. I'm fascinated by these tiebreaker things, but give me Cal on the over, and I think you should sprinkle that. I think you should certainly sprinkle that.
No chance in a national championship, obviously. Nowhere close. That's wasting your money. And what was the other number? 6 and 6.
Well, no, they're going to win over 6 games.
Yeah, I think both of those. I think 12-team playoff.
Why would you play the 12-team playoff when you could just play the ACC championship? Because they're going to make the playoff if that happens.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
It's so stupid. Anyway, Patty C's on Twitter at PattyC831. We're both on the over pretty heavily with the Cal Golden Bears here. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Make sure, but hop on over to YouTube. YouTube.com/The College Experience. It's the hub for all of our stuff. The college basketball experience. Really excited to see what Mark Madsen can do in year 2 there in Berkeley as they enter ACC travel play too. But also check out all that. Check out the college baseball experience. The Stadium Heads podcast. If you love Cal Memorial Stadium, if you're listening to this, we give it its proper respect. Not only myself, but a guy that is one of the only human beings, I think, on planet Earth that has been to every college football stadium. I'm curious how many other people have. He might be the only human on planet Earth that's been to every single college football stadium in D1 and majority of D2.
He probably is. I mean, maybe some broadcasters, but probably not. Maybe like Brent Musburger.
I don't think Brent Musburger's been to North Texas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's been to.
He's going to the marquee game of the week. That's back in the day, but he's been doing it for like 50 years.
Fuck that. I've never seen Musburger doing Maction. You know what I mean? Like, he was doing the NFL in the 80s and 90s, dude. Like, I don't even think. But yes, Michael Barker, who is a resident of Northern California. So, but he loves Cal Golden, the Cal Memorial Stadium there. I love it too. The history there,
like classic bowl, just straight old school bowl.
It
looks
awesome.
Like the Rose Bowl, but it's got almost like arguably like
beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's you're right though. The Sun Bowl is one of those great stadiums that I think like top 5 stadium in college football. Cal Memorial. Top 10 to me, Rose Bowl top 5. All those ones are fantastic that they do. Even Stanford Stadium's great. Stanford Stadium,
never change.
Yes, please never change. You can always upgrade from within, and that's what Cal did recently. Remember that one year at Tedford, they had to play out there at the San Francisco Giants Stadium while they were doing the renovating. But always do it within. That's what the fact that you could score a touchdown in the same damn end zone that Wesley Walker did, or whoever, you can.
That Kevin Moan bashed a trombone player over the head.
I'm saying, man, how great is that? How great is that? The NFL's lost their soul a long time ago, but it's the same reason why people go to Wrigley for baseball games or Fenway. Yeah. It's because of the history, man. The fact that you can say, this guy Babe Ruth hit a dinger here. You know what I mean? Like, so, check out the Stadium Heads podcast. As we talk the history of college football stadiums and the history of the sport and why it's the greatest thing ever. And also check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. Folks, we're going to be right back with the Clemson Tigers preview. So buckle up. This is the College Football Experience. California Golden Bear style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know